Good morning, everyone. So, today we are starting chapter that is History, Class 8, chapter number 5. The name of the chapter is When People Rebel 1857 and After. So, from the name itself, it is very clear that in this chapter we are reading about the revolt of 1857 and what happened to the East India Company and what are the effects on the Indian freedom fighters. How 1857 has been called a first spark of independence. So let's see the aim and objectives of the chapter. When People Rebel 1857 and After. So these are the contents and aims and objectives of the chapter. Loss of power for the Nawab. Failed negotiation of ruling families. Annexation of Awadh. Plans to end the Mughal dynasty. The peasants and the sepoy. Believe against sea voyage and its impact. Responses to reform. Mutiny to popular rebellion. So these all are the aims of the chapter, and more points are from Meerut to Delhi. Execution of Mangal Pandey. And of the new leader, appointment of the new leader, political importance of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the spread of rebellion, widespread of rebellion, rise of new leaders, the company fight back, the country attack, areas of the last Mughal emperor, arrest of the last Mughal emperor, the long battle, shifting loyalties, aftermaths, and summary. So these are the contents we are going to cover in this chapter. So let's begin with the introduction. When East India Company established power in India, it affected the life of Indian kings, queens, landlords, peasants, tribals, and soldiers in many ways. Even many of the revolt against the political enforced by the Britishers. The Nawab who ruled the land till then slowly lost all their powers. The Nawab and the Rajas lost all the authority and honor. British residents were stationed in the court to monitor the proceedings, thus undermining the authority of the Nawabs. The Nawab armies were disbanded and the freedom of the rules were reduced. The revenue collected by the Nawab was taken by the British and their territories were also seized. So you can see here what happened to the Nawabs, and previous chapter also you looked at the policies of the East India Company and the effects they had on the tribal soldiers. Kings, queens, peasants all are affected in different ways. We have also seen how people resist policies and actions that harm their interest or to go against their sentiments. Many ruling families even tried to negotiate with the company in order to protect their interest. Rani Lakshmi Bai wanted the company to recognize her adopted son as her heir to the kingdom after the death of the husband. These all are the political reasons of 1857. Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II. When Peshwa Bajirao died, Nana Sahib pleaded with the British company to give him its father's pension. The British refused to do so as they had a military power to defeat him in case he revolted. In 1801, a subsidiary alliance was imposed on Awadh. Governor General Dalhousie declared that the state was being misgoverned by Nawab Wajid Ali Shah and imposed British rule for a proper administration. In 1856, Awadh was taken over by the British. It was one of the last territories to be annexed by the British. Bahadur Shah Zafar too was the last of the Mughal emperors. In 1849, Governor General Dalhousie announced that after the death of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the family of the king would be shifted out of the Red Fort and give another place to live in Delhi. And in 1857, after the death of Bahadur Shah Zafar, Governor General Cannings decided that his descendants would not be recognized a king, but it would be called only princes. Thus, slowly but decisively, the power of all the Nawabs were taken by the British. Loss of the power for the Nawab. Since the mid 18th century, the power of the Nawab and the Rajas has been eroding. The authority and the honor which they earlier commanded were gradually waning away. The British had appointed residents in many courts. The freedom of the Indian rulers was reduced and their armed forces were disbanded. The company also took away their revenue and territories in stages. Failed negotiations of ruling families. Many ruling families tried to negotiate with the company to protect their interests, but they failed. Let us take the example of Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi. After the death of her husband, she wanted her adopted son to be recognized as her to the kingdom. Similarly, Nana Sahab, who was the adopted son of Peshwa Bazirao II, wanted his father's pension when the Peshwa died, but the company always turned down such requests. Annexation of Awadh. A subsidiary alliance was imposed at Awadh in 1801 and it was fully taken over in 1856. Misrule by the Nawab was given as the reason for the annexation of Awadh. Plans to end the Mughal dynasty. The company was also working on the plan to bring the Mughal dynasty to an end. If to remove the name of Mughal king from the coins. In 1849, it was announced by Governor General Dalhousie, and after the death of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the family of the king would be shifted out to Red Fort. It was announced that they would be given another place in Delhi as residence. In 1856, it was decided by the Governor General Cannings that Bahadur Shah Zafar would be the last Mughal king. After his death, none of the descendants would be recognized as king. They would be called princes. And the peasants and the peasants were not happy with the high taxes and the rigid methods of the revenue collection. They were discontented. Any peasants had lost the land had been tilling for the generations because of the failure to repay the loans. The Indian sepoys were not happy about the pay allowance, conditions of services. Some of the new rules violated their religious subsistence and sensibilities and belief. Belief against sea voyage and its impact. The Hindus believed that crossing to sea would mean that they would lose their religion and caste. But in 1824, when the sepoys were told to go to Burma by the sea routes, they refused to follow the orders. And most of the sepoy were from rural background. They had families living in the villages also. So the company, when they refused, the company passed a new law in 1856. The new law made it mandatory for a sepoy to agree to serve overseas if required. So you can see how they were discontented. Now, what are the responses to reform? The British took several steps to reform of the society. Now, laws were passed against the practice of sati. A law was also passed of encouragement of widow remarriage. Even in their social practices, they stopped all these practices. That was good. The company official promoted the English language. After 1830, Christian missionaries were allowed to function freely and they could even own land and property. In 1850, a new law allowed an Indian who had converted to Christianity to inherit property of his ancestors. This law made it easier to convert to Christianity. A feeling was developing among most of the Indians that the Britishers were trying to destroy that religion, social customs, and traditional way of life. However, there were some other who wanted to get rid of many of the social evils. So this much today. We'll continue with the next topic in other video.